Valve has announced three new pieces of hardware: Steam Machine, Steam Frame, and Steam Controller, and it seems like they're all going to be really cool and useful. We're going to be looking deeper into that and some other things as well involving Ubisoft. That is what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really helps out the channel. Now let's just get right into it. So Valve recently announced the Steam Frame, Steam Machine, and Steam Controller. The Steam Frame is the new VR headset, the sequel to the Steam, or the Valve Index, I should say. The Steam Machine is the sequel to the when they made Steam Machines in 2013, even though they're called the same thing, but it's an updated version of it. And the Steam Controller is the new Steam Controller, which, once again, same name. I feel like they need a different name, but, it's Valve. They're allowed to do it. And being Valve, they just announced this on a random Wednesday, as Valve does. There's no hype behind it. There was no things. They just announced it and let it fly. A bunch of YouTubers had videos on it. Like, a bunch of the tech YouTube side had a bunch of videos on it right away because they were invited to the Steam headquarters, it looked like. And from what we can tell, it's all pretty good stuff. Personally, I am pretty excited for all three of them, but the two ones that I'm most likely to use is the Steam Frame, which is the VR headset, and the Steam Controller, because while the Steam Machine does look useful, I already have a PC, and I don't need another one, so I am most likely not going to use that, and I don't really need, like, a PC console for anything else, really. It's just not useful to me, but I could definitely see the market for it. The Steam Frame looks really interesting. It's completely wireless, which is really nice. I personally still use the Valve, not the Valve, sorry, the Vive. So like the original Vive. So my VR stuff is incredibly out of date, but still useful. It still works. It's still useful, and I still use the Vive wands. So I'm like going from the original Vive to the Steam Frame. I feel like would be a huge upgrade for me personally. I there are people outside in the VR world that, like, comparatively, the Steam Frame isn't as impressive as some other offerings. But for me personally, I feel like it will be a huge upgrade because I use the original Vive still with the wand controllers. So I'm going for something made in, like, what, 2017, 2018 to something made in 2026 when it comes out, at least depending on the price, because we still don't really know the price. We know a lot about the Steam Frame other than the price, but it's going to be 2160 by 2160 resolution. The optics are pancake, which I know is a term, but I honestly don't know what that means. I assume that means they're layered, which makes sense. The tracking is inside out, meaning you don't need base stations or cameras in your room. The Steam Frame has 4 internal cameras that can look around and see where it is. The FOV is 100 up to 110 degrees. The RAM is 16 gigabytes. Storage is 256 and 1 terabyte. They comes with two controllers. It's running on the Steam OS. And it only weighs 435 grams, which is pretty light. I do also know they have a accessory pack to add another strap if you want more protection for it as well, for a tighter wear. It attaches to the top of the Steam Frame. And the two controllers look pretty good as well. The controllers themselves look like just like an updated version of the Index controllers. I do see that, like, a lot of people are slightly disappointed that they're no longer going to make the Steam or the Index controllers. I keep wanting to call it the Steam Index, but it's not actually called, it's called the Valve Index, which is funny because this is called the Steam Frame. But they have also said there's a reason why this isn't called the Index 2, because they weren't trying to make the Index 2, they were trying to make the next leap in VR technology, which makes sense. Valve is kind of pushing that as well. And the controllers look like good controllers, but they're also designed for non-VR games as well, if you just want to use the headset as a monitor, which is interesting. And they also use AA batteries, which for some people I can understand is a negative. For me personally, I like that they only used one AA battery each, because that just means you don't have to worry about charging cables and stuff like that, and you don't have to worry about the controllers eventually dying with the battery inside dying, because that's the problem I've been having with my VR stuff. The reason it is going away is because all the internal batteries are slowly dying, because I've been using them for 7 years. And for this, generally you won't have them, so that's good. And then we moving on to, unfortunately, something something I probably won't be using or buying, but I think is a really cool thing. The Steam Machine, which has a custom AMD Zen 4 6-core CPU, 16 gigabytes of RAM, a semi-custom AMD RDNA 3 GPU. Sorry, the CPU is not custom. It was the GPU that was a slight custom variation of it. 8 gigabytes of VRAM, a 512 gigabyte and a 2 terabyte storage. It's running on the Steam OS, which is the big deal as well because they've really done a lot for the Steam OS, for the Linux-based Steam OS, which I feel like is slowly becoming a bigger and better thing. It'll be interesting to see if they ever actually release a full public version of it, because the Steam Machine and the Steam Deck are the two things that run on it. Same with the Steam Frame, because the Steam Frame, which I actually know now I realize, I don't think I actually remember, the Steam Frame itself is also a small PC. Like, you don't need a PC to run it. It is kind of similar to the Quest, where you can just, it is its own self-contained PC, which is interesting, but it can be used with a PC via connection to a PC through wireless. Unfortunately, I cannot remember what the full term is called, but it's basically connecting your Steam Frame to your PC through wireless connection. And sorry, I also realized that I didn't mention, because the one downside I see on it for me personally is that there's a speaker system and there doesn't seem to be any headphones or anything like that to come with it. So we most likely are going to have to use your own headphones or get Bluetooth stuff for it, which is kind of annoying because I'd prefer to wear headphones in VR and stuff. I mean, the whole point is to be immersed, right? So you want to be able to hear the sounds around you. But to get back to the Steam Machine, it is unfortunate that I probably won't be using it, but it does seem like a very useful piece of hardware, and it looks like a GameCube. It's so funny. Everyone's been calling it the Gabe Cube, which makes sense. I've seen custom, like, it's the GameCube startup screen, but it's the Gabe Cube. It's amazing. It's great. But unfortunately, for me personally, I don't think I would use it very often because I already have a PC. I don't really have a need for a PC console for, like, in the living room or anything like that. So for me personally, probably not going to be useful, but it does look like it's a good piece of hardware. So that's good. And I hope because of the Steam Deck, people are going to be more confident in the Steam Machine, because they've tried this before. They tried this in 2013. And unfortunately, the Steam Machines in 2013 just weren't that good. But the Steam Deck, they learned a lot. They made the Steam Deck, and now they're making the Steam Machine. The Steam OS is a lot better as well. There's a lot of lessons learned. So hopefully they can continue on with that. And the third piece of hardware is the Steam controller. Now, this thing I'm probably going to end up buying because I need a better controller, honestly. It has two TMR sticks, which are the drift resistant sticks. It can be a Bluetooth controller or a wired controller. It comes with a puck that charges it. It has 35 plus hours of battery life, and it has two trackpads and a gyro controller along with the regular controller buttons as well as shoulder buttons and the back buttons. And I'm pretty excited, honestly, for this controller. I am interested in it. I would love to get it as soon as it comes. Honestly, out of all the things, this is something I'm probably going to be getting relatively when it comes out. Like, as long as it's relatively reasonably priced, I'm going to be looking into getting this because I need a new controller. I still use a really old 360 wireless controller, and it's seen its better days. Like, it basically just doesn't work anymore. It barely even connects. And there's a bunch of games that I prefer to use controller with, and I can't play right now. So I definitely want a new controller, and I feel like Valve's controller to use for the Steam games that I'm most likely going to be using to play sounds correct to me, especially with that 35 plus hour battery life. And I know Valve is at least going to stick with it, because even though people don't use, like, the first Steam controller wasn't that popular, it was still relatively supported. So I know they're not going to, just leave it. And basically, this controller is just a slightly bigger version of the Steam Deck controller, which is good. The Steam Deck has always, a lot of people say the Steam Deck is the controls on it are pretty good. So I'm really excited for this controller, and I really like the fact that you can still play it wired or wireless if you want through Bluetooth with the puck. So I think that's great. If you want it to be wired, you can. If you don't, you don't. And the buttons and layouts and stuff like that is great. I'm glad they went with two thumbsticks. It was weird that the first Steam controller didn't have two thumbsticks. Some people just like the two thumbsticks. I'm slightly sad they didn't go with the Xbox way of one at the top, one at the bottom. They went the PlayStation way of on the even side, but I get it. this will be something I just have to get used to. I am also glad they went with the Xbox buttons, like the A, B, Y, X, instead of like the Nintendo way or the PlayStation way. I hate how there's different layouts for all the buttons in so many ways. It's why I can never, when you say press X, I have absolutely no idea what you mean sometimes. But hey, at least they're going for a little bit more standardization. And of course, you have all the Steam stuff that you can like go through and customize all the back buttons and stuff like that. I am sad that all three of these things don't have any pricing at all. They all are slotted for 2026, but it's weird to me that there's zero pricing at all. But hey, I'm glad that these things exist. I'm excited. Like I said, I'm excited for all three of them. The Steam controller is definitely something I'm going to be probably getting relatively soon when it comes out. The Steam frame is something I'll be saving up for most likely because I just think it'll be a great upgrade for me in terms of VR stuff. And honestly, the Steam machine, I don't know. I think it's a great piece of hardware and it looks interesting, but I personally don't really need it. Like maybe if I needed a 2 PC setup for some reason or something like that, or maybe I end up wanting it downstairs. I don't know, but I still think it's an interesting piece of hardware. Another quick thing to say about all three of these things is that there's so much tech stuff that's happened with Valve, and it's so interesting to me see that all three of these things had zero mention of AI. There was no AI during the announcements or anyone was talking about it. Not once did they mention AI ever, which is really interesting to see and honestly a breath of fresh air, especially coming from a big tech company. I mean, Valve is definitely different out of most of them, but you know, they're not necessarily immune to the AI hype bubble. So it's nice to see that they have zero AI stuff in it, or at least the AI stuff that would maybe post red flags. I'm sure they have some frame generation stuff or like other like things like that that you can use with these things, but it's not necessarily inherently built into it, you know? Like I'm not saying like some of the good cool AI stuff that's used a lot in gaming and with hardware they couldn't use, but I don't think it's not built in. It's not being advertised with them, which is interesting because you would think they would be advertising that if it was in it. So it's probably not in it, which is interesting. And I honestly really enjoy that because I'm sick and tired of constant AI stuff being shoved down and everything has like AI features and stuff like that. So it's nice to see that it's not super built or powered by AI or any buzzwords like that. Moving on to the final story we're going to be talking about today, only 2 stories today. Ubisoft has had some leaks recently and some interesting outcomes with those leaks, because the one thing we do know for sure is that Ubisoft's stock is in a not buying spot. You cannot buy or sell Ubisoft stock. Actually, okay, let me rephrase that. I think you can technically sell it still, but you cannot trade it. Ubisoft has requested halt trading of its shares and bonds in the market, which was really interesting. A lot of companies do not do that, obviously, unless something is happening, but they did that because of something happening the first half of 2025, 2026 in the coming days, apparently. And the leaks that happened are because of an internal email that was sent, which I shall now read out. And I quote, "Hello, everyone. I wanted to let you know that we're taking extra time to finalize the closing of the semester, and as a result, we will publish our first half earnings result in the coming days instead of tonight. Due to legal regulations, we cannot share more information with you at this time. To limit unnecessary speculation and market volatility during this short delay, we have asked Euronext to suspend the trading of our stock until the next results are announced. We know this is likely to raise questions and drive media coverage. I encourage you to all listen to the conference call, which will be available via the investors section of our site just after the results are released so that you have more detailed view of our earnings. Thank you for understanding, Fred." And apparently Fred is it is Ubisoft's chief financial officer, Frederick Dugart. And so many speculations have happened because of this. The biggest likely is that I think someone has bought Ubisoft, because Ubisoft has been trying to sell itself for a long time, and it looks like the Ubisoft family, the people who own Ubisoft, I can't remember their name right now, still wanted control. So it looks like because of the way that they separated their IPs, they did a bunch of things where they separated and split into a different set of companies. So it might have actually happened. Ubisoft might have sold, and unfortunately, it is most likely being sold to Tencent because they already had a stake in Ubisoft and they were already asking Ubisoft, they were already purchasing more. It wouldn't surprise me if they fully bought Ubisoft at this point. Tencent did, which kind of sucks because Tencent kind of owns everything, and they're slowly becoming a monopoly more and more and more in a sense, because it's hard to be a monopoly in the video game industry because it is so vast. and huge. Like, how can you argue that when a company is a monopoly, when they own a bunch of companies, but then like 1,000 games are released every week basically on Steam alone, not affiliated with them? Like, is that really a monopoly? That's a whole different thing. So it looks like it's most likely that Ubisoft has being bought by, I think, Tencent. Some other people I've seen have said maybe Saudi Arabia as well, because they have been buying a lot of video game stuff and esports stuff, so that kind of makes sense as well. Unfortunately, most of the people who would buy Ubisoft right now aren't really good options for people who want good video games. So that kind of sucks, because, I hate on Ubisoft a lot, but overall I just want better video games from them. But it looks like from this leak and from the speculation that we've seen, it's most likely because Ubisoft is being bought and something is happening through that, and it's most likely going to be Tencent, which kind of sucks. And I feel bad for anyone who really enjoys Ubisoft games. Every time I talk about Ubisoft, it just feels like it's more bad news over and over and over again. And even with the new Far Cry 7 game on the horizon, with all the leaked information about that, it's not looking that good either, because for some reason there's an extraction mode apparently in the new Far Cry 7 game, which makes zero sense for a Far Cry game. So I don't know how they're spinning that off. But I guess we're going to have to wait and see if they actually are being bought by anything. I haven't seen any new updates, which is interesting, but we'll have to see. Thank you everyone for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you'd like to support directly, go over to patreon.com/thetechnojelly. You can join all of these nice people in the credits, as well as join a once a month live stream. You can also vote on what happens during that live stream, and some other perks as well. I have a TikTok, Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, and Twitter, all at the Techno Jelly. Please go follow those channels if you would like to. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Goodbye, everyone.